Hello everyone, and welcome to my Facebook Live chat. I know that for many of you in Sacramento, this is a solemn night. My family has been celebrating Passover this week. We had a Seder meal on Wednesday evening commemorating the Jews' departure from slavery in Egypt for the first time in my life on Zoom with my brother, my parents, my family. It was actually the first time that all of us, including nieces and nephews, had all been together for a single Passover. It's certainly a Passover I will never forget. I hope that those of you who celebrate Easter find ways to celebrate this weekend, this Sunday as well. Even if your celebration is different from the physical fellowship we ordinarily share in this holy season. Today is Good Friday. And though I'm not of the Christian faith, I do know the story of Good Friday. And it is a fitting analogy for what we are experiencing here in Sacramento, in the state, in the country, and in the world this Good Friday. For at its core, Good Friday is a story of isolation from others and even from God. This isolation is broken with the hallelujahs of Easter morning. Our isolation will be broken as well, for this coronavirus crisis will not last forever. And you bet, even if I'm not of the faith, that I am going to say hallelujah when I get to hug my kids, my brothers, my parents, and all of my friends. I can't tell you, nor can anyone else sitting here on a Friday night, when exactly that will be. For here is the dilemma that we face as a state and as a community. We received some encouraging news today from the state's Health and Human Services Director, Mark Galley. We've been expecting the peak in cases in California toward the end of April, but Dr. Galley told us today that we might not see a huge surge in cases over today's levels, as long as we stick with our physical distancing measures. Good and great news. It's consistent with what our county health director, Peter Bielenson, said today. Looking at the most widely used model developed by researchers from the University of Washington, now predicts the peak caseload will arrive in just a few days on April 13th and will look more like a modest hill. The truth is, we are so fortunate in Sacramento, even though people have tragically lost their lives. These are real people, and we grieve for their families. The number of people hospitalized in Sacramento is relatively low, and we are grateful for that. And so as we get to April 13th, if we keep doing what we're doing and beyond, we may see what, again, Dr. Bielenson described as a modest hill. Here's the dilemma. That good news does not mean that it is time to let down our guard and go back to our old ways, because we can't. California, not just Sacramento, has been doing a great job, and unfortunately, we have to keep this up for a while longer. And here is the opposite of what Dr. Galley and what Dr. Bielenson told us. Not inconsistent, but just the opposite in terms of why this is such a dilemma. Public health officials in Los Angeles County today said that if the stay-at-home orders were lifted now, because the peak is coming earlier and the growth is not as fast as we feared it would be, but if we lifted the stay-at-home orders now and people went back to their regular lives, more than 95% of Los Angeles County residents would be infected with COVID-19 by August 1st. 95%. That's a horrifying projection that conjures up the kind of scenario that's playing out worse than New York City, and which we all, of course, must avoid. So the study in Los Angeles also said that even though Los Angeles is doing a good job with its physical distancing, if they reduce the amount of current distancing by another 30%, that they can dramatically decrease the continued growth of COVID-19. Now, we don't have those statistics yet broken out in such a granular level in Sacramento County, but I can assure you that the conclusions would be similar for Sacramento. We not only have to continue what we're doing, we actually have to elevate it. And if we do, we'll be out of this sooner, and fewer people will get sick, and fewer people will die. As difficult and frustrating as it is, we are in this for a while longer. But there are promising developments along with the flattening curve, including the antibody testing of healthcare workers in Santa Clara County. I know that the real answer here lies in increased testing. And in Sacramento, the city and county are working together on trying to expand testing. I know that the governor is laser focused on testing both for the diagnosis of COVID-19, but also for the antibody test, which will help us spread the immunity, not the disease, throughout California. Everybody is working as hard as possible to get us to a place where mass testing, either on the diagnosis side or the antibody side, will allow us to get back to life sooner rather than later. I want to talk for a moment about the impact on the economy. We all know what's happening here. There has been, frankly, a lot of devastation to small business, to working people. The number of unemployment claims are at record numbers in this state and in this country. And the tough times, I know, are going to continue. And so we are already thinking about, and more importantly, we are already working on how we can contribute to the economic recovery here in the greater Sacramento region. And so as we think about economic recovery, we must never lose our focus on economic inclusion. You remember that in 2018, that the voters of Sacramento passed Measure U, which was our city's commitment to invest in our disadvantaged neighborhoods. Everything from helping entrepreneurs in our neighborhoods start or advance and grow small businesses, to workforce development that ties the new job sectors in our community with the kids in our neighborhoods, to affordable housing, to more intervention programs for young people. We were beginning to develop a very strong economic inclusion strategy in Sacramento. I'll get to how we continue that strategy in just a moment. But when it comes to COVID-19, of course, there has been a lot written over the past week about the disproportionate toll that the coronavirus is taking on Black and brown communities, and those who already face significant health and economic struggles. The data coming out of New York shows that Black and Latino residents are dying from COVID-19 at twice the rate of white residents. Sacramento County yet doesn't have that granular data, but we will. And the zip code data does not show yet a clear pattern, fortunately, because our numbers are still pretty low. But it has been clearly established over the years that a person's health has a lot to do with what zip code they live in, and that's wrong. The coronavirus pandemic is laying bare once again the gulf of inequality that has been festering in this country and that continues in our community for decades, and which all of us have spent our time in office trying to address. It is more important than ever that we commit ourselves to investing in the economic health of struggling neighborhoods and to offer more economic opportunity and career pathways to our kids. And so how are we going to do that in the midst of a declining tax base with restaurants closing and businesses closing and our city budgets undoubtedly taking a big hit? Well, we have opportunity thanks to Speaker Pelosi, Senator Schumer, and all of the national government, because we are going to get a lot of money from the federal stimulus. And so it's going to be our job as city leaders to find a way, yes, to balance the budget without hurting our public workers and without reducing the level of service that people have come to expect. But I want to use that federal stimulus money not as a substitute necessarily for Measure U, but as a way to achieve the same goals that we sought to achieve when the voters said yes in 2018 to investing in our neighborhoods. More to come. But this is going to be a big part of the city's work to make sure that we are not just participants, but that we are the catalyst in helping stoke the city, the county, and the region's economic recovery. The economic inclusion issues are seen everywhere. The disease itself isn't the only aspect of the crisis that is hitting minority communities disproportionately hard. Think about the Sacramento City Unified School District. Many families, estimated to be about 5,000 families, lack a reliable internet connection, which threatens to leave them even farther behind as the district and the districts throughout California begin to implement the imperfect but necessary distance learning program. Today I was on the phone with district officials and all of the area's internet providers to say, can we work together to fill the gaps, to be able to attain more hotspots, to actually go directly to the homes of families who don't have internet connections and give them what it is they need. A number of the companies are stepping up big time and offering 2 months of free service. We just have to match the families that don't have any service or adequate service with the companies and get this done right away. The district, the city, and the internet providers are working together to try to do just that. Another concrete thing, though, that we can do as Sacramentans, it's a small thing, and it may seem rather remote, but it's really important to help address the significant needs of our neighborhoods, is to fill out the census forms. I did it online while I was on a Zoom call, a public Zoom call, and if I can do it online, you can do it. Sacramento's doing great so far. In the midst of this pandemic, 52.1% of people in the city of Sacramento has responded, which is the highest rate in the region. But we need everyone to participate in order to qualify for our fair share of education funding and money that will help us recover from COVID-19. We will recover, Sacramento, and I'm convinced that we will be stronger than ever before. Part of the reason I think that is because of the acts of creativity, of resilience and generosity that I see, even from a distance, in this community. So here is one. I did get out today. It's the only time I've been out actually all week, as I've been trying to be a role model here for the importance of staying indoors. But this morning I went out to the K Street Mall to thank the crew that cleans and patrols the mall for the Downtown Sacramento Partnership. They've been working this whole time to keep downtown safe. We were standing there appropriately physically distanced, and 2 Macy's employees came out and gave the crew members each $50 worth of Macy's gift cards and Easter candy for their kids. It was just a beautiful moment. Thank you to Darrell from the Downtown Macy's and Hillary Speck from Macy's Art and Fair Mall for doing that. And I want to give a shout out to all the custodians and janitors who are working to keep our city clean, not just for the aesthetics, but keeping the city clean means there are less places for people to touch and to get themselves infected. And so many unsung heroes and heroines, among them are janitors and custodians. I also learned today that the Gig car share company, remember Sacramento was the recipient of the Green City designation for our commitment to clean mobility, and we got $44 million to spend on Gig electric cars. Well, the company is doing something extraordinary for Sacramento. With ridership way down because of the stay-at-home order, Gig has decided to donate 60 of its cars for a month to nonprofits in the city of Sacramento. And as we figure out how we provide transportation to our homeless population, to other vulnerable populations who need to get to medical appointments or who need to be out in order to meet their life needs, this is a very generous contribution. This is one of 1,000 examples in this city of turning lemons into lemonade. And it's happening all over. I think about all the artistic performances and other members of the creative community who are suddenly out of work because they have nowhere to perform, no productions currently to create, no costumes to set for, no gallery where they can hang their work. But just go online and see that they are not just sitting around. Visit the Sacramento365.com website and you'll find all sorts of online events and performances. There are virtual dance classes, streaming comedy shows, a performance by the B Street Theater, virtual classes from the Sacramento Ballet and Sidewalk Saturday, a chalk art challenge. The Sacramento Bee is hosting a concert on its Facebook page tomorrow night featuring local bands, Bird Control, and Cassette Idols, and the Mean Muggers. I bet they're good. This is all great stuff. And please, if you're watching, donate to whatever you're watching, because they're all hurting financially and they could use your help. The Donate for Sacramento website, or I'm sure that they will take contributions directly. We all know it would be better if we could watch these performances and participate in communal life in person. But this is the next best thing, and it allows us to support our cultural institutions and our creative professionals. So I'm going to keep this relatively short and sign off soon. It's supposed to be a gorgeous weekend. Go out and take a walk, a run, or a bike ride. Wear a mask. I've been wearing a mask the few times I've been out. Work in the garden, but please follow, not just in its letter, but in its spirit, the county's health order that the city, of course, is following. We are not closing the parks, but we're closing everything that you can do in a park except for take a walk. Please, no picnics. As tempting as that is, we trust that you will do the right thing to protect your own health and that of your fellow Sacramentans. And I know for people who are alone, especially, who are people of faith, or even if they are not of faith, that it's especially difficult to be separated from family, from friends, around a holiday. I feel especially bad for the seniors who won't get to visit their children or their grandchildren, or have their children or grandchildren come visit them. So I did today, and I intend to do every week, I've been checking in with constituents, both to see how they are doing and to help me manage the stay-at-home order myself. I find when I pick up the phone and call somebody who's having a hard time, it makes me forget about whatever is bugging me about having to be at home. So today I made several calls to local seniors and had some wonderful conversations about how they were doing and how I could manage with their advice staying at home myself. I asked them for advice for me and for all of you, and here's what they said. Linda suggested that we all do something while we are staying at home that we have never done before. Read a book that you haven't read. Watch a program you've never seen. Call a friend you haven't talked to in a while. This is a great one. We are so used to the texting culture. And I'm guilty of it as well. Oh, after a long day, it's hard to talk on the phone for a long time, so you keep in touch with somebody by texting. Well, we all have maybe a little bit more time, at least on the weekends. We're not out. Use that extra time to actually pick up the phone and have a live conversation with someone. Maybe one of the great things that is going to come out of this difficult period is that we are going to find better ways to actually connect with one another again and not be so separate and isolated. So she also said, and maybe this was the best advice, if all else fails, clean your house. Then there was Janet. Janet is a senior who was formerly homeless, and she shared her gratitude for all the work we are doing in the community to try to address the homeless crisis. She was grateful for having a place to live, and talked about how important it is that we keep our commitment to those who are unsheltered, who desperately want to come inside. And Patsy recommended to me that we take this as an opportunity to look ahead to where we might be in the future. She said we need to get our ducks in a row and make sure we're able to communicate our needs. Patsy has limited vision, and while she is independent now, she knows she will need to learn new ways to take care of herself in the future, and she is preparing to do so. And then she said something simple and profound. She reminded me that we all need someone who cares. We all need someone who cares. We all need a person in our lives who cares for us. And whether that's a phone call or a card, a surprise with appropriate physical distancing, this is the time to show each other we really care. We can all be the person who cares during this especially difficult time. A shout out again to our healthcare workers and our first responders. We're lighting up the city blue, but we also know we need to go beyond just the beautiful but token gesture of telling them that we care. Stay tuned next week for some special announcements of what we're going to all do as a city to try to help our healthcare workers on the front line. Happy Passover. Happy Easter. I look forward to talking to you on Monday. Thank you.